Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, this is Ed with Redneckanize Radio. Appreciate everybody joining us along here. It's Friday. It's December 16th, and it's still 2022. We got 2 weeks left of December, and Christmas is next week. So tomorrow is Saturday, and that will be 7 days from Christmas Eve. So truck drivers, you got, this weekend are running, and then you're going to, in my personal opinion, you probably want to start, trying to head home. Is what it is. You're thinking about, okay, pull this load, then get a load home or whatever. It's whatever you got going on, and making sure you're heading that way. Some people like to get home a couple days early. Like take a couple weeks off, maybe take a whole week off, get back out, maybe just like Monday or Tuesday or right after Christmas. Leading up to Christmas is always the most fun. The day after, everybody's kind of like, okay, I'm done, get back to work, but yep. So here we're live here. It's Friday. It's Redneckanize Radio. You check us out at redneckanize.com. And we're just all things trucking and then some. Appreciate everybody joining along. And don't forget to thank one of our sponsors, and that's Trucker Tools, the Trucker Tools app. You can download that app from your app store. That's where you can track freight, book freight. You can also plan your route, maintenance, truck stops, fuel, hotels, all kinds of stuff. So check it out, Trucker Tools, the Trucker Tools app. And I don't know what we saw here. We had some stuff going on, and that is there's a commenting period going on right now because they got a regulation change. They're thinking about changing the applicability of emergency exemptions. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to, instead of just saying, okay, there's an exemption. Right now, I guess the rule is when they declare an exemption, then it basically just says the rule book don't apply, knock yourself out. And then they're trusting everybody to follow the rules. Well, now what they're going to try to do is going to say, we can pick which rules you can break. And then we'll set that in the exemption declaration. And most of the time, it's just going to be hours of service, that kind of stuff. Because what the other rules, they have been they've been trying to say, don't break these other rules. And other rules are like, driver qualifications, drug testing, all that stuff is people are, I guess, taking advantage. And that's just the way it's been. That's the way and so they're trying to change that where they can. And then if they do declare an emergency declaration, instead of just 30-day flat 30 days, they can control it up to 5 days, that kind of thing, where it's not going to last a long time. And so there's a commenting period to go around. If you go to regulations.gov, and you'll see it on there. We shared it to our Facebook page, so that's something you can look at. And right now, let's see, 3 comments. I'm trying to think of, let's see. Okay, I see how it's going now. I was just trying to see what comment was the newest. It doesn't tell you any kind of date or anything. And this is from a transportation company. And this was on like Tuesday. Doesn't say what time. And that's the last time I checked, it was Tuesday. So it says it's from Powell Transportation Company. And it's a comment, and it says, we transport utility poles and do a lot of work under emergency declarations, and I am not in favor of the proposed changes. Damage damage has to be assessed. Poles have to be located and produced at a mill and then transported to a disaster area. This can take well over 5 days. And depending on the dates of declarations of recovery work may not be covered. Hurricane Ian made landfall September 28th, and we worked through October 14th, taking poles to Florida to restore power. Sometimes the products have to, see, it says here, sometimes the products, it should say have to be, but it's have to be transported 1,000 miles or more after being produced, and limiting it to 5 days could create delay in recovery processes. We have spent 2 to 3 weeks on disaster recovery at times, and the 30 days exemption allows this work to take place. The hours of service change could cause drivers to be stuck sitting in a storm damaged area with no facilities. It is much better for the driver the way it is now, so they can return home or to a safe haven after being relieved of a disaster work. I hope to see the rule remain as it is. It says being exempt and not limited to 5 days, with governors having the ability to manage this. And that makes good sense. The only problem is I guess like the other rule comment that was made earlier is is it when does the driver get to rest? And who gets pushed and all that. And what they're saying, it's delay. And that's exactly why the rules were put in place for the driver. And really the rule, if you take away the exemption during the process, that means that 1,000 miles need to be traveled. It might take longer. Well, I mean, I don't know how much. I mean, what do you? That's the other thing. What are you talking about? Okay, if it's 1,000 miles or more, and it's got to go. Okay, putting one driver in the truck, we all know it's going to be a team. Okay, and that means if there's a team, that means there's no delay. Okay, so having a second driver is not a big issue. It might be a big issue about you paying for it. So that might be an issue. If you put it on a solo truck, and that solo truck, well, now you can break the rules. And then you might, and it might cost you a little more. You might pay the driver a little more because hey, we got to go, man. Let's go here. Here, take a couple more hundred. Whatever. But a team, they're going to make their money, and it's going to cost you. But I don't see a problem with it transported. Transporting the travel time is not that big of an issue. Now you can't find a team. Well, you know what? You pay a team enough, and you'll find that team. We know that. So yeah, that's not the issue. So the other issue that we're talking about is that a driver might be stuck in an area once they get there without facilities. Well, like I said, if it's a team, they can just go. They can just drop it and go. Okay. So that's not the issue. That's not the issue at all. So I can see, I can throw holes in that one because of putting it on, just give it to a team. Just make sure that there's 2 drivers in the truck. Okay. If that costs you more money, oh well. That's what the other comment was saying, that these companies, they take advantage. They pressure, they say, hey, you go. You're just one driver. You go. And if you just if you had 2 drivers in the truck, it wouldn't be an issue, and I can see that you're probably having, it's not a conventional, like what we're talking about, it's not like trucking. It might be a service truck or something like that has to drive, and you have to take it long distance and all that stuff like that. And hey, those are the breaks, because we see it all the time. If you what was it like when in Yellowstone, only one guy was driving that truck. It was a horse trailer, and he was only driving because he was like, I'm the one that drives this truck, and he's always driving. And he was always up. But is he subject to hours of service? Technically he wasn't. He should have been. They get away with that not for hire stuff. where it's just, this is my truck, that's my ranch, that kind of thing. But I think the American public out there doesn't really realize that there are several big trucks out there, or commercial vehicles that are going up and down the highway that pull, of course. And then the other thing too is who's subject to ELDs and who's not, that kind of thing. So, and you see it, we see it, accidents. How many truck drivers see it all the time? How many big truck accidents do you see compared to how many, gooseneck trailers and trailers pulling RVs and campers and stuff like that? How many of those accidents you see compared to big truck accidents? We see the pickup trucks pulling the campers accidents quite often. That's usually the most common accident, is the pickup truck pulling the camper or pulling the trailer, whatever they're pulling. I saw two just the other day, off to the side, off in the ditch, and you can tell it was wet weather, and they just didn't know how to handle it, and they were going too fast, and I don't know if you've ever gotten that feeling, when you're going down the highway and you pull in the trailer with a pickup truck and everything starts shaking and you don't have any control over it. You just got to let it shake it out. And what it is that you're going too fast, and then when you jerk it, it puts it all out of whack, and it has to do with weight management and all that stuff like that. So, it happens. So, yep. But this here, proposed rule, it says FMCSA is proposing to narrow the scope of regulations from which relief is provided automatically for motor carriers providing direct assistance when emergency has been declared. Through the proposed changes, the agency would ensure that the relief granted through emergency declarations is appropriate and tailored to the specifics of the circumstances and emergency being addressed. The agency has proposed provisions to the process of extending an automatic emergency exemption where circumstances warrant. And what it is, I guess they just have no ability to modify the emergency declaration. It's either when you do it, it's a 30-day deal, and you can't remove it. So, and of course, my contention is, why is there an exemption? If it's a rule based on safety, then why is it allowed to be exempted? Safety does not need any exemptions. That's just all I can tell you. So tell me what you think. 515-602-9731. Give us a holler. Like I said, this is Redneckanize Radio, redneckanize.com. And, oh yeah, that's a good one. There we go. So yeah, just give us a holler. 515-602-9731. Go check us out, redneckanize.com. We're also on YouTube Live right now. Appreciate everybody listening along on there. Cameras aren't working too well, so we got the screen up, but it's just a it's just a picture of the logo and everything. But we're working on the camera getting fixed. But like I said, check us out, redneckanize.com. We're also, like I said, we're live streaming right now on the YouTube channel, YouTube Live. We appreciate everybody registering or subscribing to our YouTube channel. That's been a great success for us. We appreciate everybody doing that. So like I said, check us out. You can get all the links to that at redneckanize.com. So give us a holler, tell what you think. Proposed rule change, emergency declaration modification, and that's what we're talking about. Redneckanize Radio. We'll see you in a bit. On a ride that won't let me go. I'm in asphalt, cowboy, born to run underneath the stars. Pay no mind to my lonely heart. I just ride till I'm back in your arms again. I'll be out here on the wind. Sometimes late at night, I see your picture by the dashboard light, and it takes me where I'd like to be, wrapped up
up in a blanket there, pulling ribbons from your hair and your kiss. Girl, that's what I miss. Still I drive these horses through the rain and snow. This high-speed rodeo is all I know. I'm in asphalt, cowboy, born to run underneath the stars. Pay no mind to my lonely heart. I just ride, till I'm back in your arms again. I'll be out here on the wind, and I'll ride till I'm back in your arms again. I'll be out here on the wind, and I'll ride through the middle of the night unknown. I'm on a ride that won't let me go.
We'd like to thank one of our supporters, DPF Regeneration. The folks at DPF Regeneration have always looked out for truckers. Today's technology in big trucks has gotten more and more complicated, especially when it comes to those particulate filters. DPF filters need to be serviced, cleaned, and sometimes replaced, and DPF Regeneration handles it all. They have the knowledge, the network, and the inventory to get what truckers need to stay out on the road making money. Give them a holler at 800-634-3010 or check them out at www.webachem.com. Plain and simple, DPF Regeneration.
Lazy yellow moon coming up tonight, shining through the trees. Crickets are singing and lightning bugs are floating on the breeze. Baby, get ready. Across the field where the creek turns back by the old stone road, I'm gonna take you to a special place that nobody knows. Baby, get ready. Ooh, you and me going fishing in the dark, lying on our backs and counting the stars where the cool grass grows. Down by the river in the full moonlight, we'll be falling in love in the middle of the night, just moving slow. Staying the whole night through, it feels so good to be with you. Spring is almost over and the summer's coming, the days are getting long. Waited all winter for the time to be right, just to take you along. Baby, get ready. And it don't matter if we sit forever and the fish don't bite. We'll jump in a river and cool ourselves from the heat of the night. Baby, get ready. Ooh, you and me going fishing in the dark, lying on our backs and counting the stars where the cool grass grows. Down by the river in the full moonlight, we'll be falling in love in the middle of the night, just moving slow. Staying the whole night through, it feels so good to be with you and me going fishing in the dark, lying on our backs and counting the stars where the cool grass grows. Down by the river and down by the light, we'll be falling in love in the middle of the night, just moving slow. You and me going fishing in the dark, lying on our backs and counting the stars.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, this is Ed with Redneckanize Radio. Appreciate everybody following along, listening, and enjoying the conversation. Give us a holler, 515-602-9731. If you want to chime in, just hit 1, and you can, this is a call-in radio show, so let us know. And we got everything going on here. So I was checking things out here, and the proposed rulemaking is not the only thing going on this week. We got actually, there was a pretty interesting deal. There was a book that just got released by a scientist. No, excuse me. And it was pretty interesting. It's about the way the surveillance of the trucks is hurting safety and hurting the drivers. Talking about, how we got all these technology to keep the drivers awake, but there's nothing to ensure the drivers are allowed to get their rest. And of course, and let's just face it. I know because I've been behind the computer on the other end there talking to drivers on the phone. I've been driving myself a long time, and I know how it works. Sometimes you want to drive 15 hours in a day. Sometimes you don't even feel like driving 2, like that kind of thing. And I know how it feels. Sometimes you can get up, have a good night's sleep, get up, get in the truck, get on down the road. 2 hours later, you feel sleepy. And there are certain things like that. But other than that, it's about just, controlling things and just, hey, stop, take a little break, get on down the road, uh, and all that stuff. But I mean, they're not even allowing for that anymore. They're all they're doing is telling you keep the truck moving. You know, uh, and of course, when you in the orientations, they tell you, things you need to do and stuff like that. But they have these bells and whistles, and you're not even allowed to. I mean, it's not even. I don't even understand sometimes the way it works, because my biggest beef with the lane departure warning is that if I'm on this interstate at 2 o'clock in the morning when there ain't nobody out there, and I'm not allowed to let that truck get out of that lane one little bit. I mean, one little bit. Fortunately, there is a button on there you can shut it off, and it doesn't record every single time you go off. But I mean, that's what it's doing. It's recording. The ECM is taking the data from the lane departure warning every time the warning goes off. If you've got any kind of Qualcomm system in the truck that's hooked to the company you're driving for, it'll if you do it too many times, like in a certain amount of time, like in a course of 10 minutes, if that buzzer goes off so many times, then it automatically sends a report to the carrier that you drive for and lets them know, hey, this happened and you need to take a look at it. And it doesn't even matter if anything, but it's not even one of those things. It's funny to me because it's not like an instant alarm where somebody's going to call you and say, hey, you all right? Nothing like that. It just it gets put in a little database, and then they review it. And they want to know, well, what was going on? Well, I mean, obviously the driver didn't wreck, so nothing was bad. Nobody's called and reported a crazy driver, things like that. So, I mean, obviously everything came out all right. So, no news is good news, we always say in the trucking industry. So obviously the driver was doing all right. It's just, it happened, and that's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say that stuff happens on the road and it's like, oh, well, but I mean, you got to trust the driver that he made a good decision and what was going on. The driver either corrected himself, got off the road, or the driver, like I said, it wasn't nothing bad. So what? If the lane, like I said, at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't see any headlights around me at all. No headlights, no taillights, nothing. And it's like sometimes you get to feel the road. Sometimes you see an obstacle. And that's the thing is that if you even sometimes when you turn your blinker on, it'll still go off. And even sometimes when and especially if you don't use your blinker. So if you change lanes without using your blinker, it goes off. So let's just say there's some debris in the road and you just kind of maneuver around it. It'll flash. Now, that's not enough to send a report, because all it's going to do is going to go off like 3 or 4 times. It needs to go off more than that in the course of a minute or two or whatever, in order for it to really affect anything. And that's what's funny to me too, because if a driver really fell asleep, all you're going to do is you get that one warning and then boom, I mean, it's like I said, the whole system. And again, too, if the alarm did get triggered where the lane departure warning went off several times and nobody working your dispatch office knows about it, it's a report that goes to their safety department. It's like, to me, shouldn't like the screen flash in front of the dispatcher working at night, and it's like, hey, check this truck. I mean, maybe it does that. I don't know. Nobody's ever called. I mean, I remember when I first got into the truck and I didn't know I could shut it off. And I was driving at, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, the last thing I was worried about was that white line. Especially when, if there was another vehicle around sometimes, I might even hug that white line a little bit and give them some room, and the alarm will go off. Like, hey, you're getting out of your lane. It's like, well, I mean, I'm letting them, I'm giving a little more room, or maybe they're getting a little too close to me, So I get a little over, yeah, trucks on my left get a little too close. I get a little too, I go to the right, things like that, you know, stuff like, so, I mean, I don't know what's happening to the system. I know what's happening out on the road. I don't know what the system's thinking, but now you can just hit a button, it'll go off, and that way you ain't got to worry about the alarm going off or anything like that. It's just but it turns itself back on. It's not like I can shut it off and it's done. You know, one driver told me there's a way you could shut the alarms off, like turn the alarms down. Instead of them being really loud, they'll be really low, and you can't hear them as loud. And I'm like, well, doesn't that defeat the purpose? Why would they allow? But again, shutting it off, so yeah, there's ways drivers have figured out around, the irritable sounds of the loud noises and everything. Um, and then there's some lights that flash and all that, but those lights don't flash that often. It's only when the lights have flashed in front of me. Uh, in fact, me and another driver talked about this, where the lights flashed and the alarm sounded that it says collision warning, front end collision warning. And it was because it was raining and we went under a bridge, and somehow the light or the light or no light, like I guess there was a moonlight or a street light bouncing off the wet road, and because of the bridge, you couldn't see that, that reflection anymore. So it just assumed that there was nothing there, or there was something there blocking that reflection, or I don't know what it was, but it's just like same bridge every time, but it only do it for like a couple of seconds. One driver said it actually slammed the brakes on it, and there was nobody around, but the sensor got fooled, and it slammed on the brakes, and it wasn't that hard. It was, I mean, I've had the brakes slam in front of me, and the brakes have turned on automatically in front of me because I'm going down the road and I'm coming up on some stopped traffic, or there's slow traffic in front of me, and I guess I'm moving too fast, or whatever, for the computer to like it. The computer didn't like what I was doing, and that happens too. Like, we'll be driving, getting into construction, and lanes ending, and there's a good distance, and we're doing about 40 miles an hour, and there's a good distance between me and the truck in front of me, and another vehicle would cut me off, right? And they wouldn't be going that slow, they'd be going with our speed. It's just that they're right in front of me, directly in front of me, and when that happens, the computer's like, for that split second, and then you just back off, because I mean, the guy just got over. He's not going to slam on the brakes. He just got over real quick, and all you got to do is back off a little bit and let the truck roll, and they'll go on, stuff like that. But I mean, it's one of those things where I'm in control of the vehicle. The computer just doesn't like the circumstances, and will throw an alarm or jam on the brakes, stuff like that. And I've had that happen where like you're saying, you're getting into construction, getting down to one lane, you got some space in between you and the vehicle in front of you. Somebody cuts in front of you and gets into that empty space, and the truck doesn't like it. So the truck would beep, 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 beep. And a lot of times, you didn't put your foot on the brake because the vehicle in front of you is not stopping. It's just directly in front of you. The truck didn't like it. The truck slammed on the brakes. And it was like, damn, why? I got it. Stop it, but that's what they're creating. They're creating the trucks do the work, and you just need to do what the truck tells you to do, pretty much. But yep. Other things in the news, it's there's a slowdown coming. Freight's dropping. There's some stuff going on with the economy and all that kind of stuff. So just be prepared. And then there just came out, what was this, Wednesday, on freightwaves.com. It says trucking braces for new heavy duty engine emission standards. The Biden administration will soon issue new tailpipe emission standards for trucks, the most truckers. And this is, this is what right here. New truck maintenance costs could sideline fleets, harm economy, and industry warns. And it says the Biden administration will soon issue new tailpipe emission standards for the trucks that most truckers, from single owner operators to large fleets, Warren, could have heavy cost burdens onto the U.S. economy as a recession already looms. I mean, this is why the older trucks are more expensive now, because they're more desirable. The new trucks are just outrageously high priced because of all the new technology that's got to be on them, but nobody wants them. But they cost that much to make, so they're not going to go down in price. But nobody wants them. What they want is an older truck with the pre-emission standards, because you can still operate the truck. And see, and that's what it is. What is in California? You can't even do that. You can't even own an old truck in California. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to implement that all across the country. And they're going to have these new standards pretty soon. Just be thankful. I mean, I think, I don't know. Somebody tell me out there, are the glider kits still being used? I thought they were working on trying to outlaw glider kits, like changing the rules that it doesn't matter. It used to matter that you could have whatever new vehicle you wanted as long as the engine was old. And now they're telling you can't even do that. You can't put an old engine in a new truck or something like that. I don't know. But I remember that most dealerships wouldn't work on gliders. Or if you had a new truck, and let's say that you took it to one of those mechanics that knew how to get rid of that stuff, they wouldn't work on them. The dealerships wouldn't work on them, or they would keep the truck, and they would not release the truck until you repaired all the stuff, modifications you made. And of course, that costs a lot of people a lot of money. It says, as proposed by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in March, the new nitrous oxide emission standards for heavy-duty truck engines will be either a 2 or 1-step process. The 2-step process, option 1, would set a stringently increase first in model year 2027 and second increase in the model year 2031. And 1-step process would immediately jump into full implementation of the nitrous oxide emission of model year 2027. So they're thinking about either a 2-step where everything would kick in 31, but they're also thinking about, let's just throw everything in there in 27. It says the 2031 standard under option 1 would lower truck emissions by 90% compared to current norms, and EPA estimates that the nitrous oxide emissions from the total fleet of heavy duty trucks on the road in 2045 would decrease by as much as 60%. Option 2 would achieve less than overall emission reductions than option 1, according to the EPA. So what it is the 2-step process would be more stringent. Just thinking about this just now, nitrous oxide emission standards. I didn't know that was a problem. I mean, I knew that they were like carbon, and then we said soot, were two different things. And that's what we did with the DPF and all that stuff. Like, we needed to eliminate the soot, we need to eliminate the carbon. And then now we're not trying to eliminate the nitrous oxide. And wonder if it is that because we've eliminated these others, now we have nitrous oxide. We got to get rid of that too. All that kind of stuff. I remember one guy said eventually they'll have emissions coming out of a vehicle where you could actually take the tailpipe and hook it up to your face and breathe oxygen, breathe air. And, and that's like, well, I don't know, I guess if you cleaned it up, whatever. And then, but now it's like more and more. So the other day I listened to a lot of these conservative podcasts, and Ben Shapiro is really good. I don't know if you guys he talks really fast. Sometimes people say I talk real fast, but I'm not nearly as thought out and coherent as he is. But he talked about, the whole conservative agenda and about, things that have been thrown in place and all that. And one of them was, the political issues that we've been going through today that have been forefront and everything. And he said it's over the time that it's when the Republicans or conservatives, when they kind of just gave in and said, okay, this is all you want, here, you can have that. And then 5 or 10 years later, they want something else. And so you're like, okay, well, so this is all you want. It's okay. And it goes from one extreme to the other, but it's the same issue. And so the same issue, 30 years ago, the same issue was this is all we need. If we just had this one law or one simple just change, then everything would be fine. And everybody's like, well, that's no big deal. You can have that. That's fine. And then 5 years, 10 years later, they were like, okay, that's not enough. We need more. And if we just had this one more change, then everything would be fine. And then everybody's like, okay, well, and of course, and what it is the culture changes. And as it goes and goes and goes, most Americans were like, well, if that's all it is, so each time this happens, that's all that is. That's all that is. Well, now, if you are still very conservative, very religious, then it becomes extreme. It's very, very extreme. And now they're passing laws to make it very extreme. So it just leads me to correlate this with the whole emissions on big trucks. Because I remember when I first got into the industry, they were sharing videos at the truck driving schools and orientation. They had videos and like seminars where they would teach truck drivers what's the difference between an electronic engine and a carburetor engine, a diesel engine. And what I found out that is that just in the late 80s, I mean, it hadn't even been that long, that the government mandated that all diesel engines had to be electronic, that there were still drivers out there running around with old carburetor diesel engines because they like the whole winding of the turbo and get in that. Those are the ones where you see them, they're doing like 80 miles an hour right before the uphill because they needed to get going because the turbo wouldn't kick in unless you were getting at a higher RPM or whatever. But in electronic engines, everything's instant. And as soon as the engine feels the pull, it'll kick in itself. It'll do everything itself. So electronic turned out to be pretty good. Okay. And that's fine. It's a little more expensive to work on, but that's fine. So then when it came down to start doing the whole emission stuff. So I think it was like 2007, 2004. Yeah, 2004. Right around the early 2000s when they started talking about it. They started talking about emissions. And they said, well, what we need to do is we need to get rid of all the soot. And if we just had this one system in place in the engine to where we could recirculate the soot, the exhaust, back into the engine, and that way it would burn off a lot of that soot. And of course, that's the electronic, what is it called? Engine gas recirculation or whatever. It's EGR valve. And basically what that did is that had a little pipe going back over the top of the engine, and it took the exhaust and it ran it back through it. It was only partial of the exhaust. It wasn't even all of it. It was just partial of it. And they were just trying to say, just take a little bit more at a time and just put it back through the engine. And of course that was harming the engines. So then they had to change other stuff so the engine would last longer, and all that stuff. But they said, you know what, that's not enough. What we need to do is we need to put a filter, a special muffler that would actually take fuel and heat and burn off the particulates. That was another deal, soot, carbon, particulate. I guess carbon is the particulates or whatever, but we need something to burn that off. So we're going to do that. We're going to actually put an injector, like a spark plug, in the muffler and squirt diesel into the exhaust and burn it while the exhaust is going so that it would burn off that soot. And there would be a filter in the engine, in the muffler, that would trap all the soot. And of course, everybody knew that if you had an exhaust that had a full restriction like that hurts the engine too. The engine doesn't like that. So that's not good. We need to come something else. So they go, well, now we're going to do the SCR, or the DEF fluid is going to use it to, and now if you look at the mufflers in the big trucks, it's like, you got the battery box on one side of the truck and then your muffler on the other side of the truck. That's like this whole an extra mechanism that sends all the stuff through it. And it's got these little tubes and pipes and electric wires and everything hooking up to it. And that's your exhaust. That's your exhaust system, the SCR DEF system. And And it's like, when's it going to stop? When's it going to be enough? And looks right here, this announcement right here. There's never enough, never enough. And it's just creating more and more problems. So it's one of those things is you give them an inch and they're going to take a mile. And it's just, might as well just, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. And the whole article is about the cost, because the costs, if you ask the trucking industry, the people that run the trucks, the cost overwhelmingly outweighs the benefits. It says because it has trucking cost outweigh benefits because transportation related nitrous oxide emissions are a major contributor to air pollution. The Biden administration estimates that the rule could provide as much as $250 billion in public health benefits. But the trucking industry maintains those benefits would be outweighed by other costs if the rule proposed is finalized, based on the comments filed in the after the proposed was announced in March. Again, here is another thing. When does it get announced? Who announces it? Because I never heard anything. It says if the proposed rule either option is adopted, most carriers and truckers will opt to keep the vehicles they have for longer than otherwise would have, stated David Owen, president of National Association of Small Trucking Companies, NASTC, whose members own an average of 10 trucks. And that's true. They'll just keep them longer. And like I said, most of them have already modified their fleet to go back to old trucks. And they're going to keep those old trucks. And of course, if you're a company driver, the last thing you want is an old truck. And that's why gliders were popular. There's a lot of those carriers that had like 10 or 20 trucks. They were buying gliders because the driver wanted a new truck. They wanted an old engine. And they probably can't do that no more. I haven't heard anything on that for a while. I might do some more research on that. But yeah, that's just the way it is. So I lost it. Where's that article? There it is. It says small business truckers in general cannot afford to buy brand new power units, which today cost around $140,000. New vehicles complying with the proposed rule of the manufacturer year 27 will cost significantly more. So you're looking at, 150, 160, 170,000 for a new truck. Yep. And you think they're going to last 10 years? That's what a loan will go. The loan will have to go 10 years. So yeah. Crazy stuff. But that's just other news going on out there. And then that's pretty much it as far as worldwide. There's been some crashes, especially winter. The winter has been heavy on it. So we got to watch out for the winter weather out there. And of course, bad weather in Louisiana and Tennessee, Mississippi. Those areas been hit pretty hard. So everybody stay safe out there and stay, do your diligence and look out for the weather. And yep, that's about it there. The weekend's coming up. Tomorrow, I'll be heading over to the Veteran Cemetery here in the local area, and they're laying the Christmas wreaths, and it's an HEB truck. Found out that the Harley dealership is gonna get some bikes together, and they're gonna run over there to where the truck is, and they're gonna escort it or help escort it over to the cemetery. So that might be interesting. Might check some of that out and get some video of that if I can. But stuff like that's good stuff to participate. Get in there with your local governments or local charities and all that, and help out. And it's always fun. So check your local listings for stuff like that and do a search for it. But if you've got a veteran cemetery in your area, they're doing that. They're doing it this weekend, or they've already done it, or they're leading up to it. Because used to be it was just the one Arlington Cemetery. Well, now it's every veteran cemetery gets a load of wreaths where they can lay them down at each grave, and it's a pretty cool sight. And a lot of people get together, and it's a lot of fun. So check that out in your local area. But other than that, I get my days off. I'm going to probably be out of town Friday, the 23rd, and of course all weekend, and then come back. We should have a show on the 26th. Shouldn't be any problems having a show on the 26th. be yeah, that should be all right. We should be able to do that. We'll be here on the 26th, coming back, and then of course Friday. Yeah, Friday is work day. So yeah, because New Year's is on a Sunday, and I'll have that Monday off, and so I don't know yet if I'll be back for that day, but it'll be a day off for me. But I could be out of town, could not be. The way New Year's works for me is it's football. Whatever going on for football, that's what we do. We watch football. And of course there's a lot of stuff going on. Saturday is New Year's Eve, so that'd be a lot of fun. Check that out. And yeah, come down the end of the year, and then 2023, here we come. So yeah, if you're excited, give us a holler. This is Redneckanize Radio. We're here live every weekday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. You can give us a holler at 515-602-9731. And we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram and Twitter. We appreciate everybody following along on those ordeals. Normally we just try to get out to the truck shows and fix some food and have a little fun. And we kind of threw a wrench into that this last year. We used to just go to the Mid-America Truck Show there, the one in Louisville. They don't want us there. So we're not going to be there anymore. And other than that, it's just the way it is. So we'll see about getting somewhere. I hung out at the Texas Truck Show in Houston last July, and that was a lot of fun. So met a lot of cool people, stuff like that. So check that out. Anyway, just like I said, keep giving us a holler, keep us in the loop. And that's you can call in here 515-602-9731. Like I said, every weekday, 5 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we're also on YouTube Live and sometimes on Facebook. So we love to hear what people got to think and let us know what you think about what we're talking about, or if you want to talk about something, just let us know. Call us in and let us know. We appreciate everybody's support on that. And let's see what else I got going on. Yeah, that's about it for me. Good thing I'm paying attention. I was fixing to hit play on the music and it's not hooked to the right deal, so it wasn't going to be fun. So yeah, just like I said, I think we're gonna call it a day here and play us on out. But I appreciate everybody's support this week and keep it going throughout the next couple of weeks to the end of the year. And we appreciate everybody's support of that. And like I said, this has been Redneckanize Radio, and everybody's been having a lot of fun.
Loud thunder, heavy rain.
There you go. So I appreciate everybody's support and just have a lot of fun out there this weekend. It's time to get started, be spending with family, and just stay safe. Watch out for the bad weather and everything like that. We appreciate everybody doing that and staying in with the trucking industry, keeping up with everything what's going on. And like I said, if you got anything you want to talk about, let us know. You can even give us a holler. We got email and everything on our website, redneckanize.com. You'll find links to all of our social media accounts on there, especially our YouTube channel. Appreciate everybody subscribing to that. And you can check out all of our sponsors. And one of the great sponsors I'd like to mention is DPF Regeneration. Those guys have been great to us ever since, even before we became who we are now. DPF Regeneration has always been with us. You can check them out at dpfregeneration.com. Those are the guys that take care of your particulate filter cleaning, is what we're just talking about, right? But just like I said, appreciate all their support, and they're the ones that will take care of you. You got any knowledge, you go look them up, and if you got any problems you need some questions answered and all that, you can give them a holler. dpfregeneration.com. We appreciate all the support over at Redneckanize. So you guys stay safe, stay successful out there, keep between the ditches, and we'll see you guys next week out on the road.
We see it's always rolling. It don't stop rolling. I haven't slept in 3 damn days. Yeah, but who needs that anyway? Loud thunder, heavy rain, thin line between joy and pain. It's a long, strange trip. It's all insane. You ain't never gonna be the same. Live a life through the night, thin line of the lightning strike. Sometimes the only light when the moon is tucked away.
Today's truckers have a lot on their minds. Redneckanize was founded by truckers to help truckers and others to handle life on the road better. Check them out at redneckanize.com. When everything goes wrong and the job still has to get done, you got to Redneckanize.